Welcome to Module 3, Buyers You'll Meet When You're Selling Your Business. Who do you sell your business to? Who am I going to find to buy my business? These are common questions I'm sure you're asking yourself right now. And as you should, right? Like everyone's asking the same question. Who's going to want to buy my business? In this video, we're going to outline the four main buyer types, what they look for, who they are, and maybe this might help you identify your target buyer. And in the process of looking for buyers to buy your business, you'll start to identify what category they fall into. First ones first are strategic buyers. Now, strategic buyers are really great buyers to work with, mostly because these can be either competitors, companies in related industries, firms looking to expand. When it comes to these kind of buyers, their main source of wanting to buy your business is going to be to keep on expanding in their own business, right? The reason why they're going to want to go and buy your business is because you have assets that they want. Maybe your business owns a certain market and this business really wants to expand into that marketplace. Maybe your business has a really good email list and social media following, and this business in the same industry doesn't have that marketing capability, and so they want to go and buy you, right? And so as a business owner who, you're thinking about selling your business right now, a great question to ask is, what assets do I have right now that another business will highly value? When you're working with like a brokerage or especially like a investment bank, one thing that they always do when they're working with a client is they map out what assets does this business have and what business would benefit from buying this business. And so usually in most exit processes, if you're working with a brokerage, a good one that is, and they're not just going to list it on Biz by Sell, they're going to probably map out like what assets you have, what synergies you have with other companies, and they're going to go and approach those companies and structure a deal for one main reason. Strategic buyers typically pay more money than financial buyers, individual buyers, selling to an employee. So really, it's to your advantage if you can, go find a buyer that can benefit from owning your business. This is a really easy way to exit, and they gain value from it. Now, usually might have worries like how can you transition, all this stuff. Reality is, when you're selling to a strategic buyer, it's usually one, you'll get paid. You can argue for a higher valuation because they'll have an immediate benefit. But two, typically the transition is going to be easier because they're usually in the same business or same industry. So the transition, they'll probably keep your employees. They'll be easier to transition your inventory, like whatever your business model is. It's usually an easier transition because they've already been doing it. So when it comes time to selling, I highly advise you just map out who would benefit from buying me. What do I have to offer as a business that someone else would want to own? And then when you're going to talk with other buyers and you're selling your business to them, you really want to focus on those key points, right? Like, this is why you're going to benefit from buying my business. Because I have this email list, because I have these employees that you don't have, because I have these assets that you don't have, but if you were to buy us for this price, you'll earn your return back, and so on and so on. So this is the first one. Highly recommend it. You can't go wrong with these buyer types. Now, number two, and I took notes for this one because I want to make sure we cover all this for financial buyers. So financial buyers are going to be your typical investment group. And you always, like any advisor has worked with a ton of these buyers. They're great to work with. And as a seller, you really have to know what you're getting into when you're working with usually a PE firm. Typically, you're not going to be working with the direct buyers themselves. Typically, you'll be working with a team of analysts. Maybe if they're really involved, you will be working with the actual fund managers or the actual investment managers as well. But typically, financial buyers are PE firms, investment funds, and they're just looking to create strong returns and to optimize your business. Typically, if your business already has solid systems, good leadership team, strong cash flow, you're going to be approached by these buyers regardless. These buyers are going to want you because they need to create returns for their investors. So, with that being said, typically, and you got to know this, a financial buyer is going to probably require you to stay on post acquisition because they want you to partner with them to drive returns, to maximize returns for their investors, to exit the business within probably 3 to 5 years on average. And they're going to want your help. So if you're an owner watching this and you really don't want to stay on and you're being approached by these buyers, you just need to take into consideration the fact that financial buyers are going to probably want you to stay on for at least over a year. Like that is average, but sometimes they might not too, right? Maybe they've already been buying these businesses and they already have a management team in place. Maybe they already have operators come in, etc. So that's not always the case. But from my experience, if the PE firm isn't that established, maybe they're a bit newer, they're gonna probably want you to stay on. And so financial buyers drive over 50% of lower middle market activity. So there's a lot of buyers, especially if you're doing over $2 million a year in EBITDA. I'm sure you're watching this because you've already been approached by them. So work with them, see what they have to say. Just make sure that you're on the same page and you know what you're getting into. But outside of that, these are awesome buyers. They have capital, they have means to get money to buy. So if you're worried about not getting paid out, typically these are great buyers because they do have capital and they do have the goal to exit again. And so even if you do stay on as a partner for a bit longer, you'll get money back and typically more money. So there are upsides, of course, to working with financial buyers. But if your goal is to really just leave the business, you do need to talk with the buyer that you're working with, let them know your goals, and make sure that they have a system to bring in an operator to replace you otherwise. So hopefully that's helpful. I can make a separate video going deeper on these different categories as well. Management or partner buyout. These are not common. So it's not common really for an owner to sell to a manager or employee, but there are a lot of benefits to doing so, right? One thing is that they know the business already. You probably trust them already. They've probably been with you for years, and maybe they've expressed interest in owning the business before in the past. In that case, it does make sense to sell to them, especially if you guys are on the same page and they see the vision for the future. But there are downsides, right? Typically, if you do a partner buyout or you sell to an employee, typically you shouldn't expect all your money paid up front. Majority reason because they don't have the money, right? They've been working for you. And so, excuse me, they might not have the money. So typically, if you're going to be doing this, you're probably more open to a seller carry and maybe a lower down payment up front so that you can get payments over time. And maybe you might come on as a board member, right? But there are benefits outside of the payout. You know, they already have the trust of the team. They've already been working with you. So if your goal is to really carry on your legacy, a partner buyout is a really good option. And the good thing too is that there are good capital or financing options available for these kind of deals. So definitely talk with your local banker if you are doing this path. I think it's a great one. I've only ever advised on 2 of these deals in the last 6 years, so I haven't personally, I'm not going to claim to be the expert on these deals, but for the ones I've advised on, they're really great deals to do, especially when your employee values the business. It's really cool to see. So we're going to stay on this one for a little bit. Individual buyers are majority of the buyers. So right now, like we talked about in the first module, there are more buyers coming to market than ever before. And all of them, most of them, majority of them are going to be individual buyers. These are people that have been working jobs they hate and they want to start or be on their own business. These are retirees, maybe they recently retired and they want to get back in the game. These are entrepreneurs who probably were successful in their own business, or maybe they've been running their own business for a few years and haven't seen the success they want. And so now they just want to go and buy an already successful business like yours watching this video right now. Here's the thing to keep out for. Individual buyers lack experience, education when it comes usually to business in general. They may have been really successful in corporate, they may have been really successful in the past, but typically they lack education and experience when it just comes to buying a business, right? Like as we kind of look back through these slides, strategic buyers and financial buyers are really great buyers because they have probably done deals before. You know, even strategic buyers, I'm sure they've bought maybe equipment from a different company. They've done other deals in the past. Individual buyers are going to be the only ones that you're going to be working with, and they're going to be talking a big game up front, like they've done this before, and they have the vision and they know what to do. But typically, individual buyers will lack experience. They may have capital from the past jobs they worked at or maybe saved up, but typically these buyers are going to also use SBA loans. So you will probably need to wait 60 days to go through the SBA process, especially if your business is under $5 million. However, 90% of Main Street buyers are first-time buyers in general. So typically, as you're working through your buyers and you realize that they're a individual buyer and they fall into this category, just be aware that they've never bought a business before. They may have never been in a business before. So your approach with it needs to be a bit more awareness that, hey, they might not be able to run this business the way they think they can. Hey, maybe I want to get paid out up front because I don't trust that they're going to be able to carry it long term, right? Like there's a lot of considerations when working with these buyers, and these make up most of the buyers that you're going to be talking to. And so for the job of a broker, and this is why I always recommend even just working with an advisor of some fashion, because it's their job to filter out all the buyers for you, right? Like you're running your business, you're probably tired, you can't talk to buyers and run your business at the same time, you can't market it and do both. The bright side about working with a broker is that they know all about this, and so that they can filter out and say, hey, like you have really great intentions as a buyer, but you cannot do this deal. And that's the biggest advantage I'll say. So if you are working with these buyers, just make sure you have an advisor who has experience so that you don't waste your time with the wrong buyers. And that's going to be the biggest thing. So a quick recap. Strategic buyers are going to be really great buyers for your business because they already know it. They'll usually pay a bit more or be willing to. It'll be more of an easier transition because they've already been in the business and they already understand your business as a whole, and you can't beat that. And there's real value for them to buy your business as it is. Financial buyers are great buyers. They have capital, they have experience, they have plans going into your business. Only downside is if your goal is to leave and not work it anymore, you do need to just talk with them and make sure that you're on the same page and that they can still structure a deal, still bring in an operator to take care of your business properly. Partner buyouts, we talked about this as well. Great option if you do have an employee that you trust, they see the vision, they've expressed interest before in the past, you want to see them keep succeeding, you want to keep the legacy in-house. Great option. There's financing options available for this path. Just be open to doing a seller carry because they probably don't have the money and they might not want to be put fully in debt either. Then lastly, individual buyers. These are going to make up most majority of all buyers you talk to. Because it is their first time, it is going to be a really simple transaction versus a strategic buyer, financial buyer. It might be really more in depth. But an individual buyer is really looking for a emotional connection, right? Like they're leaving corporate, they're leaving their job, they're leaving their business, and they're looking for a business that they can just come into, keep working on it, keep growing it, and just keep building it up. So these are all great options. But as you're talking to your buyers, as you're working with your advisor, hopefully this helps you have a framework of who to be expecting when you're talking to your next buyer. For module 4, we're going to be talking about common pitfalls. And if you want to fail at selling your business, then you should follow the advice we're going to be giving in module 4 because you can't wing this, right? And so I will see you all in module 4 for common pitfalls.